I am back. I am back in today's video. Like I promised that there will be a part 2 in this series of Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore as well as Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. How do the two compare? In the case of Uganda, I made a case that what could have been if in case Yoweri Kaguta Museveni made the most of his ambition of overstaying in power, found inspiration in Lee Kuan Yew, how different Uganda could have been. Do you think that many people in Uganda would have even cared? Would there even have been scrutiny as to whether Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is Ugandan or not? Do you think that people who would have really even found time to apply pressure against Yoweri Kaguta Museveni to leave power if only he followed suit and literally at least implemented 2/4, let's say 3/4 of what Lee Kuan Yew implemented in Singapore? Yes, because at the end of the day, we are talking about a country that has such a diverse ethnic population. Singapore, so many similarities that we can draw from this country. And if there is anything that we can also look into, Singapore compared to Uganda does not have as many natural resources, at least valuable minerals, because you know, Uganda, for those of you who even don't know, Uganda is gold reserves right now about to go through the roof. Trillions of dollars is predicted in terms of how much of the quantities of gold that we have. So imagine with the same vision, or at least the same method of governance, imagine if roles were switched, what Uganda would be. That is what I was really trying to bring forth before you in terms of analyzing the situation of leaders who overstay in power and those who do so with their people as priority. Has Museveni taken our country or the people of Uganda as priority when it comes to fulfilling his overall ambition of staying in power? But today, in making my case, I want to look at two people, the offsprings of both leaders, Muhoozi Kainerugaba of Uganda, as well as Lee Hsien Loong, the son of Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore. I want to look into these two individuals. When it comes to Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore and his son, Lee Hsien Loong, who became eventually the Prime Minister of Singapore from 2014 to 2024. Last year, Lee Kuan Yew's succession plan for his son, Lee Hsien Loong, was more nuanced. While Lee Hsien Loong did eventually become the Prime Minister of Singapore, his accession plan to power wasn't solely due to nepotism. Yeah, that is a very, very important aspect. Lee Hsien Loong had a distinguished career in the Singaporean government and military before becoming Prime Minister. He held various offices, including Minister for Trade and Industry and Minister for Finance, and was widely regarded as a capable leader. Now that is very, very key. When you bring it back home, in Mohoozi's case, there wouldn't even have been a problem if his son Muhoozi Kainerugaba, through merit, had such an influence in the offices that he has held. Right now, he is the commander of the armed forces, but there are so many whispers. There was even a scenario in which General Sejusa had to flee the country because I think he was the highest ranking officer at the time to break the news about Mohoozi's plan, the succession plan. Much as there was always murmurs that, oh yes, there is this reality that we should expect one day that Museveni's son will become the next president of Uganda. Mamas were always there because, of course, everyone looked into the case of how Mohoozi was accumulating all these ranks, accelerated ranking in the army. And the critics were up in arms, were questioning, how is this man, a son of the president, outranked some of the historical figures of the NRA? How is that possible? So everything about how Mohoozi started holding all these offices became so controversial. It almost feels that Ugandans were lied to. And while at the same time, simultaneously, the First Lady already has the office and the budget as the First Lady of Uganda. Museveni's wife, Janet Kataha Museveni, was also now becoming the Minister of Karamoja. Now she is the Minister of Education. Everything around the Museveni's family became overly clear. Something that was supposed to be shameful, now it is shameless, because the priority for Museveni seems to be like, okay, I am just going to surround myself with my family. In fact, in one of the most infamous interviews, when he was asked if he ever feels bad about how he has broken the promises, proclaiming himself as someone who detests leaders, African leaders who overstay in power. And he said that he does not care. His sole mission is to take care of his family and his grandchildren. And that is really something that is on record. I wish I can get that clip, but maybe in the next video I will get that clip. He made it so abundantly clear that he only prioritizes his family. Now let's go back to Singapore. There is something about Lee Kuan Yew who, when it comes to the qualities that he possessed, Lee worked to bridge the divide between different ethnic and linguistic groups in Singapore, promoting social cohesion and unity. With nepotism and how Museveni has become so shameless in just offering jobs with the first priority being his family, it means that you make it harder for yourself to have a country that has social cohesion. Paulo Mwanga, what seemed to have been sour grapes when he stated that by the time Yoweri Kaguta Museveni leaves power, the country will be divided. And what we are witnessing right now, the wage of division, the bitter roots of division, and how Museveni has managed to turn almost every person in the country, in every corner of our country, against each other, is alarming. It is alarming. Nepotism with impunity is something that we will look back to after Museveni, long after he is gone, and wonder, how did we get to this point? And I hope that it will also become an opportunity for us to foster healing and reconciliation, just so we can heal the wounds that have been dealt upon us. Lee Hsien Loong's rise to prominence in Singapore, in the Singaporean politics, is a story of academic excellence, military service, and rapid ascent through the ranks of the ruling People's Action Party. These are the key milestones of Lee Hsien Loong's political career. The early life and education. He was born in 1952, the eldest son of the Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew. Lee Hsien Loong displayed early academic promise. He studied mathematics at the University of Cambridge, graduating with first-class honors, and later obtained a Master of Public Administration from Harvard's Kennedy School of Government. Yeah. Whenever the apologists speak of the achievements of Muhoozi Kainerugaba, they are always first to tell us about Sandhurst. He graduated in the military school, the legendary Sandhurst. But what are the other qualities that this man possesses? What public offices has he been exposed to understand the real pain of Ugandans? This man even fears to face parliamentary committees when they are requiring the commander of the armed forces to go to the parliament and give an account in terms of the bill that is apportioned to the military. He cannot even go there. He cannot even go to parliamentary committees. So Lee Hsien Loong did not have this kind of arrogance. So there you have it, a master's in public administration in the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. Military career. Before entering politics, he served in the Singapore Armed Forces, SAF, from 1971 to 1984, reaching the rank of Brigadier General. Entering politics in 1984, he joined the PAP, which is the People Action Party, and was elected as a member of parliament to the Tekgi constituency. Yeah. Tell me now about this. He stood for parliament. He first became a member of parliament. Rapid advancement. Lee quickly rose through the ministerial ranks, holding the important portfolios such as Minister of State in the Military of Trade and Industry and the Ministry of Defense. He also chaired the Economic Committee that recommended significant tax changes in 1987. He became Minister for Trade and Industry and Second Minister of Defense. Deputy Prime Minister. When Goh Hok Tong succeeded Lee Kuan Yew as Prime Minister in 1980, Lee Hsien Loong became Deputy Prime Minister. Now I have a question. If this was the trajectory of Muhoozi Kainerugaba, would you have had any opposition towards the idea of one day him becoming the president of Uganda? I really want you to answer this question in the comment section. Do you think that if the trajectory of Mohoozi Kainerugaba was comparable to the trajectory of Lee Hsien Loong of Singapore, the son of Lee Kuan Yew, former Prime Minister of Singapore, celebrated as the father of the nation, a man who insisted that there shouldn't be any monuments of him in Singapore, despite the fact that many attribute the advancement and the economic development of Singapore to him. And his son had such a trajectory, rising through the ranks, and no one, at least those who knew the progression of Singapore, would not dare side-eye this man, Lee Hsien Loong. I would like you to answer that question, just in case, if there was transparency in how Mohoozi rose to power. Do you think that you would have opposition towards the idea of him becoming the next president of Uganda? I'll leave you that question, because for me, I know my answers. Well, this video, I don't want it to be too long. I've already spoken so much about these two individuals. In fact, I would like to end it with a story. I remember when I just started my gallery back in Kampala, and I just had a few conversations during the infamous walk to work. That was, by the way, one of the worst periods anybody could dare start a business. And there I was in Kampala running a new gallery. So because of this, many of my friends visited, and we talked a lot about politics. We talked about some of countries that benefited from Uganda, like Amin, for example, donated food supplies to the UAE, Dubai, current Dubai. Now we are sending our girls to work as kadamas, housemaids or house assistants. It is incredibly depressing in that regard. So when the topic of Lee Kuan Yew came up, I remember one of my friends said that when Lee Kuan Yew became the Prime Minister of Singapore, he sought counsel from Milton Obote, the former president of Uganda, Jomo Kenyatta of Kenya, as well as Mwalimu Nyerere of Tanzania. And he was selling his idea to them in the sense that with the partnership that he could have with these East African countries that have such an abundance of natural resources, working together and implementing a similar vision to what he was implementing in Singapore could become a game changer. We are talking about a small nation that was not given a chance. And of course, him being such a shrewd leader noticed that a lot of what was being said of Singapore was true. So it was in his best interest that he would seek out countries that were also in that same level, despite the fact that, of course, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, believe it or not, at that point, were a little more advanced than Singapore. So he sought them in the sense of implementing a vision that would benefit all these four countries together from a developmental and governance standpoint. These leaders, they ignored him. Just imagine what Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania would have been. Museveni worked in the Obote government, which means that if this information is valid, he would have known that, okay, there is a chance for Uganda to rectify that missed opportunity and maximize it for the sake of making Uganda the sort of country that it should be after 40 years in power. I guess that is the best way I can end this video. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Let me know what you think about the two parallels between Muhoozi Kainerugaba and Lee Hsien Loong, the former Prime Minister of Singapore, who was the son of the founder of Singapore. So let me know what you think. Like, share, and subscribe. We have made a little more than 100 subscribers. The goal is to reach that 1,000 subscribers. Hopefully this month we will add more subscribers halfway through that 1,000 goal. Let me know what you think. Should I have a part 3 about Lee Hsien Loong? Should I talk about if democracy was too early for Africans across the board, not just Uganda? This is what it means for Ugandans to wake up. This information needs to be readily available for us to understand that we exercise our critical thinking skills in the hope that one day, long after Museveni is gone, there is still a chance for Ugandans to liberate themselves from mental slavery. That's what's up. I am out. Cheers.